So much can happen in a year. Lives can merge, lives can be created, lives can disappear. Such was the case for 23-year-old Jody Rilee-Wilson, missing from her Wister, Oklahoma home after husband Bo, mother-in-law Kathy, and father-in-law Jerry left for an out-of-state funeral, one Jody was supposed to attend.
So when you finally spoke to your son-in-law, he was coming back from the funeral, and that's the first time you heard that Jody hadn't gone.
Correct. And he was like, well, I'm on my way back. As soon as I get back, I'll let you know what's going on. From that point on, she was missing.
When the Wilsons reportedly return home that Saturday, they find the dog unattended and packages left out in the rain. Bo files a missing persons report. And from over 1,300 miles away in New Jersey, so do the Rileys.
At what point do you make the decision that I've got to get to Oklahoma and figure out what's going on here?
Sunday, I flew to Oklahoma and I drove directly to the Wister Police Department.
James is met at the station by Bo, and while the two wait for information there, elsewhere, Jody's friends hope for the best.
I just kept saying she's gonna show up, and that Sunday was Mother's Day. And it was her first Mother's Day. And Jody and her mom were so close that I just felt myself watching the clock all day.
What no one knew then, not the Rileys nor the Wilsons, was that just 2 days earlier, a paraglider flying over a mountain 15 miles from Jody's home was getting a bird's eye view of horror.
That was Mother's Day weekend that we found out.
That you found out what?
We found out that a body was found up on a mountain.
The body had been wrapped in trash bags, dumped like garbage.
When the OSBI agent came, he immediately told both Bo and I that a body had been found and it had been identified as my daughter. Take a second.
Were you the one to break it to your wife?
Yeah. I had to call my wife and tell her.
And on of all days,
That was devastating,
The darkest day ever.
ever. And Mother's Day has never been the same since.
but while dental records confirmed it was definitely Jody found on that mountain, because of her advanced state of decomposition, authorities couldn't determine exactly how she died. Only that the trash bags concealing her, as well as drag marks in the grass around her body, made her death suspicious.
She was brought to a place where she was not to be found. There's zero question about that.
And it's not like she went for a walk and slipped and fell, right? I mean, there's...
This isn't a place you would go for a walk. It was literally on top of the mountain at the end of a dirt road and dragged into the woods.
It is unbelievable, isn't it, that a paraglider saw her?
It's a miracle, because having to live without knowing is pretty bad too.
And there was someone else who found the whole story pretty extraordinary. New Jersey reporter Abbott Koloff.
So when you first heard about it, how was the story? What were the headlines at the time?
Well, it was that Roxbury mayor's daughter was missing and then found on top of a mountain, and it was a suspicious death.
The belief is that she was murdered.
Well, the belief is that she was that there must have been a reason to cover something up, whether she was murdered or not.
And Koloff says the more he dug around, the more suspicious the story became.
She was going to a funeral on Thursday, and that raised all kinds of questions because the family left Tuesday, not Thursday. So why did the family suddenly leave on Tuesday night? Why did the family go without her and with the baby?
Good questions, and as part of his reporting, Koloff asked them.
They didn't exactly explain it. I've talked to family members, and they were just told, oh, Jody changed her mind.
But those weren't even the only issues raising eyebrows. Reports from friends say that before she died, Jody had been feeling homesick and may have even been planning a trip back to New Jersey with Annabelle.
She said it was too quiet out there. It was very quiet for her.
This homesickness, did this become more of an issue between her and Bo?
I don't know.
But Jody's friend Lisa says it was an issue, one of many between Bo and Jody.
We had spoken about her coming back to New Jersey quite a bit. Ever since the first time I met Bo, you know, I had been trying to reassure her that she could always come home. She just wasn't sure how to go about it and what her rights would be and things like that.
Police do question Bo and the rest of the family about the rumors and suspicions, but no charges are ever filed. Even after investigators find Jody's car a month later, over 100 miles away from her body.
Where was Jody's vehicle?
It was sitting in a parking lot for weeks at a place called the Pig Out Palace. The keys were in the ignition and the door was unlocked.
What authorities found in that car has never been revealed to the public. But for the next 8 years, no arrests were ever made, no major breaks at all.
It's over 3,000 days. That's a long time.
Then, for the 8th anniversary of Jody's death, Abbott Koloff decided to revisit the case.
It was a very sad story, and I went to my editors this year and said, I'd like to come back to this because I didn't want Jody to be forgotten in Oklahoma, where she had lived.
And as the reporter started digging back in, he found that a lot has changed since Jody's suspicious death.
Bo Wilson is now a preacher. I know he's remarried. He's living in another town. Last time I called him was for the series that we did in May. And I told him who I was and I wanted to speak about Jody. And he said, okay, and then hung up. And then he changed his number. So that's the extent of our relationship.
As for Bo's parents, Kathy and Jerry,
Jerry is an interesting person. He had a couple of run-ins with the law. In 2013, he took out a knife and threatened someone at a restaurant in Wister. He got a suspended sentence for that.
and he got even worse from wife Kathy.
His wife threw him out of their house. In court papers, she said that he threatened to kill her with a knife, and then he was ordered out of the home, according to court papers, on May 2nd of this year.
3 days after that incident, Koloff's updated report on Jody is published online. And a few months after that, just days before we sat down to conduct our interviews, Abbott Koloff got a very interesting call from someone claiming to have new information. That caller? Bo's dad, Jerry Wilson.
Let me tell you what happened.
Coming up,
Jody's own father-in-law is making an incredible accusation.
I haven't really had time to process it.
the surprise confession that blows the case wide open.
Jerry dropped a bomb.
Yes, he certainly did.
Let's go back to May 5th, the night that Jody disappeared.
She said, I'm fixing to haul off this body. They parked her car right on the side, and then I asked him, I said, what's Jody's car doing up here? And he said, oh, she'll be up here in the morning to pick you up.